Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And it is player props on a Wednesday night. Pretty full slate here, Nate, in the NBA. 12 games to choose from tonight, so plenty of options. In fact, we're going to go back to one from last night, though, as we can continue to ride the hot hand of those Sacramento Kings. We'll get into all that here in just a minute. Go ahead and make sure to like and subscribe to that page. We're bringing you these player props as well as a couple game videos each and every weekday of this regular season. Also want you to head to thelines.com. That's where we have our great written content for you guys all season long. Nate throws the picks up there, and we have our great odds finder tool for you guys, so you can go ahead and make sure you're shopping those lines to the best of your ability across the NBA this season. Nate, let's go ahead and kick things off with Wednesday night's first play-a prop.
Yeah, I know the Pelicans have a lot of options now with Zion back and Brandon Ingram back for a while, but cooking now. But I still like CJ McCollum at just 18.5 points. I kind of like the 2.5 threes as well. I mean, you're getting better odds there, slightly plus money at FanDuel for him to hit 3 threes. You look at with Zion, his assists per game drop a lot. But the 3-point percentage is much higher. Same thing with when Ingram's in there. I mean, just obviously they're drawing double teams. They're kicking it out to him. And he's definitely handled the Spurs, even when the Spurs were a good, disciplined defensive team like the last couple of years. In his last 4, averaging 30 points per game, 7 rebounds, 5 assists with a 121 offensive rating, 35% usage rate. That's going to come down, sure, but CJ is an efficient scorer. He's working his way back into shape. He did not start the season in great shape, but in his last 4, he's averaging 21.5, shooting 50% from 3 and hitting over 4 threes. And that includes some really light lifting in their last game against the shorthanded Warriors, the Warriors backups, where he scored 15 in 22 minutes and then took a seat. So the Pelicans are well rested. I don't think the Spurs are going to lay down in the same fashion at home. We do a game video, though, where we talk about the Pelicans -6 or 7 and the possibility of teasing that down or just taking that. I mean, the Spurs are 30th in many defensive categories, but they're a little bit better at home. So the backcourt, since letting DeJounte go, giving up plenty of production, the most points per game to shooting guards and second most assists to point guards. So if you like 6 assists for CJ, I don't hate that either. It's slightly plus money or even, but I think the points and threes are the most reliable.
Yeah, that feels right. Points and threes for CJ tonight. I mean, yeah, the assist could be there. I still really want to see how they kind of play with Zion this season. I think at the beginning of the season, that's kind of what you can expect from CJ. Like you said, fewer assists. I don't know if that's a total correlation yet necessarily, but he's going to get the 3-point shots when Zion's out there. And if Zion's willing to kick at all after he gets into the lane, then I think you can feel pretty good about that. BI also seems to be upping his assists a bit this season, to your point earlier. So CJ, yeah, 18.5 is going to be low for him, but that's going to be probably where it is at this point whenever Zion plays. The threes and the assists is what I would really be interested to see in this game. I'm going to go back to the well. Like I said, Nate, Mr. De'Aaron Fox worked out pretty great for us last night as the Kings hung on to beat the Grizz after almost blowing a pretty big lead there at the end. That's something that Mr. Fox will want to clean up as he still remains the best point guard, clutch point guard in the league right now, net rating wise for himself. Total is 241 in this game. I said when we talked about this video last night, you know, it's Wednesday morning now. We shot the Kings and Hawks video on Tuesday night. It was at 239.5. We woke up to it being 241. I said take under 239.5. So you bet I'm taking under 241, but it can still get to like 233 or so, 235 even, and De'Aaron Fox will contribute heavily to that. His first back-to-back so far this season, 26-10. He is 24, as Nate correctly pointed out to me earlier. I thought he might have already been older than that. He's just been in the league for a bit, coming out after his freshman year. Last 5 versus DeJounte, who you expect to be guarding him in this game, at least switching off him and Huerter, depending on who's hotter in this one. But his last 5 versus DJ, 29 points a game on 33% usage. Obviously, when DJ was doing that damage on the Spurs there, but still a good defensive team, as you kind of talked about in the last pick for the last couple of seasons, were the Spurs before this season when they just completely tanked. So the fact that he's been doing that against them, pretty impressive. It's his. I said he's the number one clutch point guard in the league in terms of that rating. His splits are awesome this year, 56, 38, 85 from the line with a 30% usage rate. Playing on the road helps D Fox as well. We already mentioned that in that Memphis Grizzlies game. 32 points a game in his last 4 on the road with that 30% usage rate. Playing against some pretty good teams. Memphis, not an easy place to play. They had all their defenders in, right? Like, it's not like Desmond Bane was really crushing their defensive scheme because he wasn't in there. They played the Lakers, the Magic, the Dubs all on the road. All tough places to play. Look at the Magic's away record. The Lakers are at least pretty good on defense right now this year, if not awful on offense. And Golden State is playing so much better at home. So all these things for D Fox is like, yeah, against Atlanta, he's had some pretty good numbers. 25.5 points still isn't high enough for our man on a back-to-back.
Yeah, you look at the only times he didn't really get this recently, the absolute blowout of the Nets, a tough matchup against the Cavs, and then a home game against the Warriors where Domantas Sabonis, they were just feeding him because he was dominating down low, 26 points. And I don't think that they're going to have that easy of a time scoring in Atlanta at home down low. So it's going to fall on Fox again, and he's been stepping up in a major way this season. Just the numbers are great across the board. Yeah. If he gets Trae Young on him, that's barbecue chicken. And like you pointed out, he's done just fine against DeJounte Murray as well. So should be a nice back and forth affair there in the backcourt in a game with a ridiculous total. I'm looking at the defensive stats here for Myles Turner, and that's rebounds and steal/blocks. Minus 135 for him to get 3 steals or blocks, which is not great juice, but seems pretty likely since he's averaging about 3 blocks per game in his last 8. The attack on a half a steal per game. Steals are always a bit wonky depending on the situation, but Minnesota turns the ball over. That's for sure. And they're unreliable. They also play at the 4th fastest pace in the league. Indiana's 6th fastest pace. So there's just going to be a lot of possessions here. I think that the double-digit rebounds is definitely likely here. Minnesota, just because of that pace. I mean, they're a good rebounding team, but because of that pace, 4th most rebounds per game. That includes 15 per game to centers. Turner has 14 blocks in his last 4 meetings with Minnesota. So Anthony Edwards and company are going to try to challenge him at the rim. The Pacers basically play funnel defense to say, if you get past us, like good luck scoring on Turner. And then that's either a foul or a block, at least you get the opportunities there. He's done more blocks than fouls with a 104 defensive rating, very impressive, and the highest rebound rate of his career, 26% of available defensive rebounds going to Turner. And that number is 8.5 boards at FanDuel for plus money or 7.5 at other books just for the rebounds. I'm not touching his points. His usage rate is real low. He's going to be trying to score on Rudy Gobert, but on the other end, I think he will be boarding up and defending.
Yeah, he will. And just as important, he's going to be in the game every second that Rudy Gobert is in the game, right? And so Rudy at about 32 minutes a game this season. And, for Turner, it's closer to about 27. He's missed some time, so they've had to ease him back here and there, whatever. But he's going to get that 32 minutes that Rudy's on the floor. Like, you see Rudy on the floor, you see Myles on the floor. So I think you can bank on that. 17.5 points a game this season for Myles. It's sitting at 15.5. I don't love the matchup. To your point, he is going to be able to draw Rudy out, so those threes might be something for him to hit as well if they're going to make sure that he's not standing too close to the basket on offense too consistently as they would love to be able to get Rudy out of the lane and get those rebounds. So there's plenty to like about Myles Turner's matchup tonight and the way that he's going to be able to play against Rudy. So I'm with that. I'm going to finish off here with a guy that I kind of wish I would have talked about before yesterday's game. D'Anthony Melton on the Sixers, a guy that is a backup point guard at this point and has been since he came into the league, backup point guard, shooting guard, however, on the Grizzlies. He would come in with Tyus Jones and play a little bit more off ball. Last night played some off ball with Shake Milton, but had the ball in his hands plenty, had a 24.5% usage rate, or last night it was actually 26.5 without Maxey and Harden in his last 2 games, 24% usage rate, up from 18 on the season. 5.5 3-pointers made per game over his last two, shooting 10 threes a game. So 55.5% over the course of those last two. 20 points, 5 boards, 5 assists. That's all in 34.5 minutes, right? All those minutes going up, the usage going up, obviously, with and he's becoming a starting guard at this point with him and Shake when those two guys are out in terms of Harden and Maxey, and they continue to be as well tonight against a really bad Charlotte defense. Last season without Ja, D'Anthony Melton, he only played one more minute per game when Ja wasn't in there. Dylan Brooks and Desmond Bane got a lot of time as well, but when he did get in there without any of those guys, I would add, if you add Bane not to the mix of players that were out last year, for a bit of time, and when D'Anthony Melton came in without him and Ja, he went from 9 points a game to like 19.5 points a game. Went out without Ja alone, and even when Desmond Bane was in there, he still went up 4.5 points a game. When Ja was in there, so all these guys being out, D'Anthony Melton probably would be a starting guard on like 12 to 15 teams in this league right now. He just keeps playing behind a couple of really, really good guards. Charlotte's awful on defense, allowing the 8th most points per game, allowing the 6th most points to opposing point guards as well. So I feel really good about D'Anthony Melton's matchup tonight with this bad Charlotte defense.
Yeah, I think I like him more than Shake. I think I like the threes as much as the points, but it's minus 150 for him to hit 3 because he's been hoisting so many. I mean, Philly, I think, is in a letdown spot here emotionally on a back-to-back after getting that shorthanded win against Brooklyn and Ben Simmons, of course. And I think they might lose here pretty badly, actually. I might look at LaMelo Ball on the other side with Charlotte taking advantage. But the thing is, Tobias Harris was surprisingly active for that Nets game, and maybe he sits because he probably played through some pain to just get that emotional win. So yeah, if you bet that before, and suddenly he's a scratch, then Melton and Milton are going to be getting higher usage, and you'll feel great about that.
Melton and Milton, baby, love that backcourt. And I used to mix those two guys up, so it's really funny they're on the same team. And I just wanted to also mention we didn't boast at all, but we hit the Ben Simmons prop last night. Not only did we hit that 10.5 points, we also hit that double for the man at plus 490 that we told you about. So feeling pretty good about where we're at with props this week. That's all the time we have for you in this one, but make sure to like and subscribe to the page. Continue to follow along with us. We'll be coming back to you guys each and every weekday that there's games. Obviously, we have a little break for Thanksgiving, but until we see you next, happy betting.